Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie and this is Unity Consciousness. Today we're going to be discussing the energy that will be prominent this week, beginning today, which is the 24th of May, and continuing through the weekend. This week's players include Neptune, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, the North Node, and of course, the star player this week is the total full supermoon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on Wednesday. I would not be surprised if you're not already beginning to feel this energy as it builds. Eclipse season is always a very powerful time for many reasons. It's a time for us, particularly this full moon, this eclipse cycle has to do with the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. This is the fourth eclipse in that set that started last year in June of 2020. It is a time for us to align with our karmic journeys, which has to do with the North Node, and that's on an individual basis as well as collective. It is a time of reconciliation, of what we've been told is true against what our own experiences are and reality. It's a time for us to embrace heart-centered consciousness and holding space for others with opposing view. It is looking for commonality within those relationships where there's someone who has an opposing view, but ultimately there is a commonality or a common thread that links us all together. Looking for what that is, reaching out with compassion, connecting with compassion through that commonality. And this week I expect there will be some awakenings of epic proportion. There'll be some new ideas and understandings that go hand in hand with that. So let's get started and focus really on the total full moon, the total full supermoon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. As I mentioned, this is the fourth eclipse in the eclipse sets that started last year in June. We were full-blown COVID lockdown last year in June, so there's many things we've learned since that time. And it's time for us also to let go of things that no longer serve us and our North Node or our true life's path. The first eclipse in this cycle is one where we let go of things that no longer align with us. Then when the new moon comes in Gemini in a couple of weeks, we are letting go to create space for those new things that are more aligned with our life's purpose to come rushing in. Very, very important time. Very important for us to allow the things that are popping up in our view or in our spectrum of life that no longer serve us to just let go of that and know that better things are coming. So you can also expect these moments of great insight relative to your five-dimensional awakenings and also things that align with that five-dimensional trust that we've talked about in the past videos. Sagittarius energy, as I mentioned, this lunar eclipse is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is, if you know anyone who is a Sag, my daughter is, and she's a strong proponent for the underdog. She is very spontaneous with many things. She's adventurous, and Sagittarius stands for those things. It's non-routine spontaneity. It is a mutable sign, so there's a lot of change and adaptability that comes naturally for people of this sign or born under this sign. So again, being this lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, not only are things coming to a head quickly, it's also giving us the power and the strength and the wherewithal to adapt and make changes rather quickly. Sagittarius also rules long-distance travel, worldly views and issues, and the bright side or the light side of Sagittarius is very optimistic and encouraging energy. Now let's talk about the aspects associated with this total full supermoon lunar eclipse on Wednesday. We've got Mercury, which is stationary currently, ready to go retrograde this weekend. So that means it's slowing down. And it's squaring Neptune. Neptune governs many things, but when Neptune's involved, there can be illusions or disillusionment, lack of clarity, confusion. The upside is intuition and spirituality. So if you find yourself being confused about issues or circumstances, the best thing to do is step away, connect with your intuition, reach out for whatever modes of spirituality give you or fortify your experience. Use those to kind of ground yourself and step away from the disillusion. Because I mentioned that Mercury is going to be going retrograde, it's stationary now, or slowing down to become stationary and then go retrograde, be mindful of any new technology, no new phone, new computers, anything like that. You don't want to do that during a Mercury retrograde cycle. But when Mercury and Neptune do a dance, a square, which is not a supportive angle, you want to watch for misinformation relative to communication, verbal, written, modes of communication. And if you find that you're at the receiving end of information that it just can't be true, I can't believe this, take a step back before you repeat the information that you've heard. Instead of continuing the disillusion, take a step back, connect with your intuition. It will guide you each and every time. Healthy detachment is also good here if you find yourself overwhelmed with the communication that's coming in. It's coming too fast for you to be able to really decipher what's true and what's not true. Detach yourself. Give yourself some space. Practice self-care. Watch for gossip this week. I expect it'll be flying all around. I've had a couple instances of that myself in the last couple of days, and I'm choosing purposefully not to participate in it. If someone wants to gossip, it's going to end right here. It's not going to be reiterated, turned around, or recommunicated by me to someone else. When this energy, Mercury squaring Neptune, is combined with Sagittarius, it can feel like whatever situation is upon you is larger than life. Keep things in perspective. It can call your ethics in question or that of another in question. Just ground yourself and make sure you fact check every step of the way. Yesterday, Saturn went retrograde. The planet Pluto is already retrograde, and I mentioned Mercury is going to be retrograde later this week. Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Aquarius and will remain there until October. Very slow-moving planet, so it's only going to retrograde over a couple of degrees at this time. This is a very positive alignment at the time of this total full supermoon lunar eclipse. It is going to allow us to understand how we can live in harmony with others who have a different opinion of our own. Saturn, because it just went retrograde, is at the height of its power. The same thing will occur when it goes stationary direct in October. So we can tap into this energy. We can use Saturn's energy to our benefit through this process. Set up healthy boundaries if you need to. That's what Saturn's about. But truly, if you go back to, as I mentioned, this is the fourth eclipse in the cycle that started last June. We've learned a lot. Through restrictions, there have been lessons that have been learned by all of us as a collective and equally individually that we can use now to help us progress through this eclipse cycle and understand what's an immature situation, what's a mature situation, what do we want to repeat, what do we not want to repeat, and always choose to be responsible, because that's what Saturn's asking us to do. And when you are, you will be supported. That's Saturn's purpose in this lunar eclipse cycle. Make sure also that you enjoy the fruits of your labor. Several of us have been through so much over the course of the past year. we've done some hard work, and Saturn allows you, when you've done the hard work, to appreciate the fruits of your labor at the end of that cycle. And now is that time. So there are, like I said, some beneficial qualities of this eclipse. Make sure you hone in on them and then accept those benefits, the fruits of those labors, the things that we've learned through the lockdown phase, how to treat other people, how we expect to be treated, how to set up healthy boundaries. Those are the things we're being asked to do. Now, another aspect of this eclipse is Jupiter is in Pisces, and it's at a very hard angle to the total full supermoon lunar eclipse. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So what does that mean? Jupiter expands on energy. Pisces can be disillusionment, but it can also be intuition and for the greater good. And so this could mean large-scale awakenings that help us align with our North Node, either as a collective or individually. But it also will help us understand how we're connected to others. There's a common thread, and if you can find it, and you focus on that, you're focusing on the positive side of a connection, not how separate you are because of a difference of opinion and whatever spectrum that falls. This can be a deeply spiritual energy of communion. You could feel commonality begin to come to the surface once you do focus on what it is that brings you and another together, even though you do have opposing opinions on something else. The shadow side of Jupiter being at hard angle to this eclipse, we can feel alienated or disconnected. But the more you trust and step into that 5-dimensional energy and stay away from fear-based thinking, the more beneficial this energy will be for you. So trust is key here, folks. If you find yourself fearful, if you find yourself alienated, try to look for commonalities. If it's too difficult at the time, healthy detachment, but not for seclusion purposes or to further alienate yourself. But sometimes it's better to go within and try to seek the answers if things are happening so quickly on the outside. Like I mentioned, with Pisces being involved and Jupiter being involved, your intuition, the expansion of your intuition is readily available if you would like to seek it. So very powerful full moon, a lot of very powerful aspects. Full moon, it is a full moon, but an eclipse. So it's a very powerful energy. Eclipses are full moons on steroids, so I anticipate that this energy will be around for some time and can set a pace for 6 months. So let's focus on the 5-dimensional aspect of it so that we can continue to reap those benefits of intuitive knowing and being aligned with our North Node for the coming months until the next eclipse cycle. At the time of an eclipse, it is said that a portal is opened that thins the veil between worlds. So this is an opportunity for us to tap into innate wisdom that we were born with, something that we were born with, these tools for living that may have had a lot of layers of life on top of them. Now we can excavate, we can reach into that innate knowledge and use it to our advantage. It's also going to point out some outdated principles that we need to shift and that we need to change so that we can receive benefits from this lunar eclipse cycle. Anything that gets washed away, or anything that we choose to let go of, that we may have had a firm grip on, an old principle that's outdated that we choose to let go of, we are creating space for the new moon in just a couple weeks in Gemini that will fill all of those blank spaces. and allow us to reach for that North Node in Gemini, reach for our own personal North Node or life purpose. Now, after this lunar eclipse, total, full, super moon lunar eclipse on Wednesday, just after that, Venus is going to align with Neptune. And it is a hard angle. So again, speaking of Neptune, the three-dimensional side of this is illusion, disillusionment, areas where you thought you had some clarity, but you really didn't. Tension can appear in relationships of any kind, relationship with yourself, with your family, with your significant other, at work, and also monetary matters. It can also instigate a wake-up call, a really fast-moving wake-up call. Again, this is an eclipse. Things happen, they come in pretty quick, and it happens pretty quick out of nowhere. So a wake-up call may be present just after Wednesday that needs to be dealt with relative to love, relationships, or money. Again, if it gets to be too much, take a step back, but let go of the things that no longer serve your greatest good, because we've got the North Node engaged here, folks. So the more you connect with your higher self, the more beneficial this full moon lunar eclipse will be for you. Then, as I mentioned, this weekend, I believe it's Saturday, the 29th, Mercury goes retrograde. Because Mercury is retrograde in Gemini, that is its home sign, it is going to be exceptionally strong. So for the next 2 weeks or so, with Neptune squaring the influences here, this Mercury retrograde cycle, there's going to be a lot of disillusionment. There's going to be communication breakdowns and moments of uncertainty relative to movement. It could be transportation, it could be communications and forms of, whether it's the telephone call or the email or the text message. Things can get real cloudy or just uncertain relatively quickly. And that will happen, that energy will be prominent for the next couple of weeks as Mercury begins to get further away from that retrograde cycle. It is a planet is most strong when it switches from stationary to direct, or direct, stationary, retrograde. So what can you do with all this energy? Because it's a lot. We've got a big week ahead, and that energy is going to stick with us for a while, but it's going to be very, 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 very strong. The crescendo is this week. Use Saturn energy, because remember, Saturn is benefiting this energy. Use Saturn's energy to ground you. That's Saturn's purpose. It's taskmaster. It's bringing you back down to earth. It is going to hold space for you. Set boundaries where you need to, and hold space for opposition. Instead of taking a defensive stand against someone, hold space for them. You don't have to agree. There's some common element of that individual or that situation that I'm sure you could find if you look hard enough and far enough. Focus on that. Don't focus on the opposition. Listen carefully this week and over the next couple of weeks, certainly until the new moon comes in. Listen carefully and don't jump to conclusions. Fact check, fact check, fact check. We've got some pretty strong influences with Neptune, which means disillusionment can be prominent. So make sure you check your facts before you repeat anything or you take action on something. And if need be, like I said, take a step back and take a deep breath. Breath always can ground you if you focus on your breathing. Cultivate perspective. If you find that there's information that you're getting or a situation that you find yourself in that is just totally out of this world, it's gotten out of hand, find perspective. Saturn can help you with that as well. Get your feet back on the ground, get your head out of the clouds. Don't believe everything that you hear, don't believe everything that you read, and gain perspective. It's a time for us also to make our own realizations that serve our higher purpose. Are we truly aligned with our North Node? We're going to learn that this week. If there are things popping up in your field of vision that need to be dealt with and washed away, let go of them. Let go of them. Be grounded, but let go of them. When you do, that elevated spiritual principles will step in. They're going to help you even out, and you're going to begin to see some benefits here, some significant benefits. With Neptune being present, the upside of Neptune is intuition. You can always tap into your intuition. If you take a step back from a heated situation or a situation that seems totally out of this world, take a step back. Your intuition will provide you the answer. Again, you can tap into innate wisdom using the energy surrounding this super full moon lunar eclipse. This is a very powerful karmic time, a very powerful karmic cycle. Remember that. It's very important. Make sure that your responses, either verbal or actions, are that are aligned with your greater good and that of the collective. Sometimes being quiet and not speaking is a good response. Can't hurt. Where have you ventured off your path? If you find yourself getting a lot of messages this week of things to let go of, get back on your path. Leave the things that no longer support you or align with you, or problems, issues. Get back on the right path. Focus on the greater good. Focus on what's best for you. Always choose love and wisdom. Heart-centered consciousness. As I mentioned before, if you find yourself overwhelmed, focus on your breathing. If that's not working, picture your heart as being a third lung. Allow the breath to move in to your lungs, through your heart, then back out. Believe it or not, that is going to ground your energy immediately. It will help you to calm down. It will help you to see things using your intuition through open heart-centered consciousness. And like I said, always choose love for yourself and also for others. And I've said before, when you realize that life happens for you and not to you, you will trust the outcome. And now is the time for us to let go of things so the greater things can come into us. And you have to trust the outcome, because when you create space, that space will be filled with something that meets your highest level of potential at this particular time. The nodes of the moon, the nodal axis, are absolutely engaged right now. So use it to your advantage. That's all I have for this week, and wow, it's a lot. So be patient, be kind, choose love, and go deep for your intuitive knowing. It's there. That wisdom is there. Depend on yourself for that knowing if you need to, and step away. Self-practice when it's a necessity. No harm in that. Certainly is my pleasure to have you join me today. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please post them in the comments box below. If you like this video, please like it. If you need to share it or would like to share it with a friend, please do so. I will be here with you every step of the way this week. If things get a little too chaotic or out of control, I can always throw another video up with some more suggestions on ways that you can use that energy to your benefit. If you know me personally and things start getting out of control, don't hesitate to reach out by text message or phone call. I'm here for you. Remember to breathe. Namaste.